And for more on the business of blogging, we're joined by John Hazard. He's a director of Contently Studio, which is a tech company that helps journalists tell their stories. Well, we have this story of the business of blogging to tell. And John, firstly, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Michelle.
There are so many professional bloggers now, people that make their full-time living from expressing their thoughts, their opinions via the internet. What is the best strategy to monetize?
To be authentic, to be credible, and to own your audience. The audience is following you because they identify with you and they follow your lead.
But let's talk revenue streams.
Revenue streams. The folks who are doing it well build that audience, they grow it, then they turn to brands who need to reach that audience. Those brands are willing to pay dollars to get in front of your audience with your influence.
So those brands then pay the bloggers for sponsored content and for advertising. But John, if the whole idea is that you have a following because of your opinion, doesn't the fact that you have a sponsor now influencing what you post compromise the integrity of what you have to say?
Yes, and the folks who do this best say no as often as they say yes to sponsorship opportunities. The reason the audience is there is because they identify with the blogger's perspective. They admire their ideals. So the blogger has to balance the need for money with the ideals and how that fits with the brands they're representing.
That could be a very slippery slope. Does the blogger have to disclose that this product that I'm now sharing on Instagram, I'm being paid to do so?
Well, there are no rules that require any sort of disclosure, but the audience is very fickle. If the audience, this is a thing because audience members are tired of being advertised to, and they also don't want to be deceived. The folks who do it well admit where their money comes from.
And that doesn't impact the followers, really?
No, it doesn't. Most of them have this, both the audience and the bloggers have a passion around these particular topics, and they select the products that they place in front of the audience based on that.
What kind of topics have the most traction? We mentioned fashion in the piece we saw. What are the other topics that really get huge followers and revenue?
It's fashion, it's food, it's technology, and luxury. Luxury living is a hot one. One of my favorite examples of this is Hungry Editor. Ben Satwan was a stylist for fashion houses. He was behind the scenes. He was living this luxurious life. He began Instagramming the life he was living. Now he's paid by hotels, restaurants, and stylists and brands to be included.
Is this a sustainable business, though? Do most bloggers peak and then fade into obscurity when the next hot blogger comes on board?
Sure, they do. The good ones have to stay diversified and differentiated. This is a thing because it replaced something else, and eventually something else will replace this.
Okay, so how does one get started? Can anyone with an opinion, as we said, basically start a blog?
Most of those who do it and do it well start from a passion point. This is something they would almost be doing regardless of whether there was money in it. So it's not necessarily something you can will into being. Most of these folks just love it and begin doing it.
Blogging has changed and evolved. What's the next step?
The next, it's going to be, we don't know. The next step is going to be a wild west. The folks who are doing it well aren't just relying on being paid for posts. They're turning themselves into personas who are paid for event appearances. Many of them have turned it into book deals. Many of them have turned it into full-time jobs.
So they've actually gotten off the blogging thing and more into the real world by appearing, well, in the real world, if you will.
It's their influence that is their currency.
How can they prove that they have this influence? How do you show I'm this followed? I get you got likes on Facebook and followers on Instagram and such, but how do they bring in the advertisers and get them to advertise with them?
The brands now have outreach to these individuals, and when they approach them, they want to see proof of the audience. Blogging software has built-in analytics that will tell both the blogger and the brand how many people read your posts.
What is a piece of advice you'd give to a prospective blogger?
Be credible and be authentic. Like I said, this is something that's working because the audience was tired of being advertised to. They want to be informed and entertained. So remain credible, remain authentic.
All right. Those are just good words in general. Good advice in general. Remain credible and authentic. Okay, thank you so much, John Hazard, Director of Contently Studio.